Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? My name is Tony Rosano, and this is another episode of the world famous, the University Love, the best podcast in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 galaxies. But ladies and gentlemen, you and I, we just call this show Online Marketing Moves. Now, ladies and gentlemen, forgive me as I had to adjust my microphone. Thank you very much. Let's see. Here we go. Now, ladies and gentlemen, how are you doing today? Come on in, come on in, come on in. We have another fun, jam-packed show for you today. Ladies and gentlemen, this show is going to be uploaded tonight. Ladies and gents, we had another, my father-in-law stopped by today. My brother-in-law came to town to visit. My father-in-law stopped by, so that's a whole nother thing. So we had to do this, we had to do that. Had him driving back home. Wow, all this is jazz. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, this podcast is gonna probably be uploaded around 11 o'clock tonight. But ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to talk about something very important. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to talk about the small things that people do not see when it comes to you and your business. Now, why do we bring this up? Because, ladies and gentlemen, it's easy. It's easy. It's easy to be out front, ladies and gentlemen. It's easy to get on camera. It's easy to chit-chat. It's easy to do a podcast. But ladies and gentlemen, when you want to run a real business, when you want to run a well-oiled machine, ladies and gentlemen, you have to get down to the nuts and the bolts. And you have to do this, and you have to do that. And you have to make sure that every loose end is tight. Ladies and gentlemen, you want to make sure all your stuff is correct. It's just like you start a business. You start making money, ladies and gentlemen. You want to make sure you have the right tax structure. You want to make sure that you have a good tax accountant, or you want to make sure that you know some tax laws. That is stuff that people do not think about. Why do you want this stuff? Because you're either gonna do it now, or when you on the back end, you're gonna pay in the end. So either way, you're gonna have to pay for quality. And ladies and gentlemen, why did I bring this up? Because one of the books that I read over the years was from Steve Jobs. It was a good book, Steve Jobs by Walter Isaacson. It's a very good book. You should read it. And one thing that he talked about, Steve Jobs focused on details of the iPhone, of the Mac computer. He focused on details that you would never see, or you probably would never pay attention to. But for him, he wanted them to be precise. He wanted them to be clean. He wanted them to be up to date. He wanted them to be snuff. He never went cheap when it comes to his products. No matter if you can see the product, if you can see the part or not, he never went cheap. And the reason why you should never go cheap in your business is because even though people can't see your tax structure, even though people don't care about your tax structure, people are not gonna see your tax records. But the little things like that, the more you're able to take care of things like that, the less headache you have, the more you're able to produce quality content. Okay, the more you are able to market yourself, the more you're able to focus. When you don't do these things, when you don't do the little things, like, make sure that you're sending out emails, make sure you're putting the links in, make sure you have a good tax account, make sure you have, you're paying your quarterly taxes, make sure you are doing small things, make sure you are make sure you are getting the videos properly edited and put up on time, things like that. Those are small things that you need to make sure that you are doing, because the small things matter just as much, maybe even more than the big things, Because if you're sitting there trying to figure out what kind of content am I going to do, and you got the eyes breathing down your back saying, hey, you owe $20,000, you're not going to be able to focus on the thing that you need to do to to make the money. You know what I'm saying? So this is why you should do the little things. 2 books that I read that these people focus on little things, but they got the job done. With Steve Jobs and Walt Disney. I read a book by Walt Disney. I told you I follow this guy. I get this emails from this guy. He recommended the book from Walt Disney. Steve Jobs, I've always read about. I'm like, he seems kind of cool, so I bought that book. But a guy recommended the Disney book, and I'm glad I read it. I'm not that big on Disney. My wife is, but me, I learned more about the nuts and bolts and the details of Disney reading that book than I could have done. I could have read 100 articles and still wouldn't have, learned about Walt Disney. The book was about Walt Disney, and it was very fascinating how Walt Disney, he didn't care how much money he spent. He wanted every detail in his movies to be high quality. And even though people might not see it, make sure it's quality. Make sure you are spot on with your information. Make sure you are spot on with your taxes. Make sure you are spot on with your, let's say you have an offer. You're like, hey, sign up now and you'll get a T-shirt. Make sure you are spot on with when that T-shirt goes out. How does it go out? Do you have the right order? You don't want to. You never want to get caught with your pants down. Let's say you say, hey man, if you buy a thing from me and I'll send you a T-shirt, and let's say you have it automated. What if you click on it, you try it out yourself, and the link don't work? Fix it right away. Don't wait. Don't hesitate, because people wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and buy things. People will sit and think and ponder, should I buy this course? Should I buy this product from this person? For a long time. And sometimes they wake up in the middle of the night and they're like, I'm going to do this. And they get this enthusiasm. They get this rush, And let's say you didn't fix that link. And they click on the link and they buy the thing. And then they're like, no T-shirts available. This link is broken. And they're like, I thought this, you don't want to be in that position, The one thing you want is to be well organized, If you have to pay somebody, or if you can do it yourself, you want to make sure that you are organized. You want to make sure that your business is up and running and full blown legit, And so I highly recommend. Listen, I bring up the taxes because I know quite a few people that had to make a trip to the federal building here in Atlanta to do taxes. You don't want those problems, So you just want to make sure you got everything structured. You want to go to the right people. You want to make sure you are paying the right, people. You want to make sure that you have everything in order. Because if you try to go cheap with certain things, it's going to backfire on you. It's like my mom one time, she bought these Pop-Tarts, and they was generic Pop-Tarts. And they was the worst Pop-Tarts I've had. They tasted burnt. My dad said, Doretha? Why come you just didn't go get the Kellogg's Pop-Tarts? And she said, I was trying to save $1. He said, well, you bought that. Now we need some real Pop-Tarts. So you wasted money anyway. I think that's very true. So get it right the first time, do your research, study up, and make sure you are getting the highest quality. If you're going to get somebody, when you go to Fiverr, make sure you look at the reviews, make sure you look at their work, because you want to make sure you're hiring the right person, because you don't want to waste a lot of time hiring and firing people, I'm not saying you're going to get it right every time, but a lot of times you can get the job done if you just study the people, if you just watch the people, don't go in blind. It's like I was telling a friend of mine one day, this friend of mine, he recommended we work at this trucking company. So I said, okay. I said, I ain't going to do no research. I believe in the guy. And that company was an epic failure. I think I worked there like a week, 2 weeks at the most. And I just was like, I'm out. It's too much. But because I let this guy talk, I said, I'm going to go with this guy's instinct. Because he's like, come on, man. Let's run over here together, And I was like, all right, I'm going to follow your lead this time. And it fell flat. And if I did my research, I probably would have said, nah, I'm good. But, I didn't. So I was just listening to him. So Do your own research. Make sure you are hiring quality people. Does not matter what it is. Does not matter the thing. Just make sure they are of quality. All right. But ladies and gentlemen, that is it for the podcast. We will be back tomorrow with all the episode of Online Marketing Moves. But until then, my name is Tony Zone. Thank you for listening. And as always, everybody, peace.